much. Let me proceed on established protocol and just say good evening, my brothers and sisters. This is the first time, and I know it won't be the last time. Well, community, anytime we've had the opportunity to come to attend the AU conference. Let me try. In the past, the reason for these meetings were to apprise our countrymen and women about what is happening back home, because you didn't get news from home. You could only know what was happening from home if you called back. But I'm sure you know more about what happened at home than I know, because I've been traveling for the last 4 days. So I'm sure that you even know more. So you should be briefing me. Ghana is still where it is on the Atlantic coast of West Africa, and that it is still a sovereign country. So there's no need for me to go into much detail, but to say that a new government has taken over. We had a successful election. It was a very competitive election. It took a lot of effort on both sides, but eventually the people of Ghana spoke. And what it has done is just cemented and consolidated our democratic credentials. And so today we can be proud that our country is held in very high esteem as a model of democracy, not only in Africa, but across the world. And I think that we all can take pride in that. We had a smooth transition, and I think that the pride that Ghana bears in terms of the smoothness of transfer of power, you know, from political party to political party was reflected in the inauguration by the record number of heads of state and foreign visitors who came to witness the investiture of the president and vice president. But as quickly as you know, proud as we were of that inauguration, we've had to put it quickly behind us, because the task and the work ahead of us is enormous. And so I had promised before the election that within 14 days I would name all our substantive ministers, and we did that in the period that was promised. I want to thank Parliament. I want to thank Parliament and the Speaker for the speedy manner in which they approached the vetting process and approved the ministers so that they could start working. Today, as I speak, all those ministers are at post and are working in the interest of our people. We intend to hold our first cabinet meeting next week, and I'm sure that a lot of issues will be discussed. The main focus and task ahead of this government is stabilizing the economy. You all know what our nation has been through, and it's not necessary for me to recount blow by blow what should have been done and what shouldn't have been done. The net result is that we have been going through a severe economic crisis, that is in terms of a very unstable macroeconomic environment. But the problems are twin, not only the destabilization of our macroeconomy, but also the debt default. It's been one of the first time in known memory that Ghana has, you know, had to swallow the bitter pill of telling the rest of the world that we can't pay our debts. And it comes with all the strictures of a defaulter that you have to go through. And so we had to go into an IMF program, and alongside the IMF program, do a renegotiation of our debts in order to have some of the debts taken off, a portion of it, and then stretch out the tenure for repayment. But that doesn't put us out of the woods. We have very serious payments coming up, and so the economic and finance team are working assiduously in order that we don't default again. This year, there are two major payments, but those are on the domestic bonds, totally about 15 billion cedis. And we've re-established the sinking fund. And so we're committing resources into the sinking fund to make sure that when we get to those payments, the two installments will be able to pay them, and then begin to look at how we can meet the obligations for next year. The second thing is governance. And we've been practicing with our 1992 Constitution for the last 33 years. And it has served us well. I think that it's one of the best constitutions in the world. And if you look at the provisions in the Constitution, they are very progressive, and I think far better than other countries have in their constitutions. It guarantees free speech. It has a whole chapter on media freedoms and all that. And the directive principles of state policy emphasize on the protection of human rights and freedoms, and also equality of treatment of all persons, no matter their political, ethnic, or religious or gender affiliation. And so it's a very progressive constitution. But experience shows that after practicing a constitution for some time, in order that it becomes a living document, you need to look at some amendments in order that you plug loopholes that were not anticipated at the time the constitution was drawn up. And while the previous presidents attempted to do it, it's Professor Tamils who really tackled it in a strong way and set up the Constitution Review Committee. That committee did its work, presented its report, and then government issued a white paper on the report and set up a Constitutional Review Implementation Committee to start the process. Unfortunately, the government lost, and the new government came in place and decided to set up another Constitution Review Committee, which did work and presented its report just at the final stages of that government. And that was after the elections. I got a report of the committee report. So what we've done is to set up a Constitution Review Planning Committee to hold a validation conference where we'll put all the reports, including the recent one that we inherited from the past government, and put it before that conference to validate the amendments. Some of the amendments are still relevant, some might no longer be relevant, and there might be new challenges that were not anticipated. For instance, in the dying stages of the last government, you had what happened between Parliament and the courts. It might help to strengthen that part of the Constitution that shows clearly who can declare a seat vacant, because the Speaker was going to declare seat vacant. The majority, I don't know whether it was majority or not, but the MPP group leader ran to Parliament and tried to restrain the Speaker. And you all know what happened. There was an impasse between Parliament and the judiciary. And so maybe the time has come for us to look at such clauses in the Constitution and tighten them and make them clearer. And so that process is ongoing. I inaugurated the committee, and they are at work. It's become important to do a reset of our democracy, our governance, accountability, and even our attitudes. Because if you look at all the opinion polling that has taken place, it did show that there was an increasing decline in confidence and faith in our democracy. And I'm sure that many of you would have noticed the strong applause that the leader of Burkina Faso had when he came for the inauguration. He showed an admiration for, the head of an unconstitutional government. And so it shows that it is important for those of us in leadership who tout democracy as the best system of government to sit up and make sure that the dividends that our people expect from democracy are received. In 1992, when we passed the new constitution, we all were excited because we said a new era had come And I mean, things were going to get better, there was going to be prosperity, and there will be shared growth, everybody would have opportunities and all that. Unfortunately, it has not met our expectations. I wouldn't say that progress hasn't been made. Per capita income has grown, life expectancy has increased, but of course, the pace at which that is happening is not fast enough, especially for our growing youth population. And one of the major obstacles we face, and the major dangers, indeed is a tinderbox, is the issue of youth unemployment. Because with the Millennium Development Goals, we all committed to 100% enrollment of primary school enrollment, and we achieved it. At the end of the Millennium Development Goals, Ghana was at 97% enrollment. And we had also achieved gender parity in enrollment of boys and girls. As many girls were going to school as boys. Now that cohort that we proudly said we had achieved have gone through primary school, come through secondary school. Some of them are in tertiary education, and they're all coming out now in their numbers like a conveyor belt in a factory, and they're all coming out and looking for jobs. Unfortunately, the economy has not been growing as fast as it should to be able to throw out the opportunities that they need. Many governments have attempted one thing or the other, but always it's been an ad hoc, knee-jerk, not sustainable. And so you have NAPCO comes to mind as a recent example. And the students were kept in the program for 3 years. They have completed the 3 years, but there's no transition into automatic jobs. And so it is important that we work as quickly as possible to stabilize things and make sure that our young people are able to find work, to be able to live a decent life and look after their families. But in order to do that, those of us in leadership must lead by example. We must be prepared to be held accountable for taking the public trust. And as I've told everybody, if you accept to serve in the public sector, then you must be prepared to answer to the people, because it is the people who put you there. You serve at their pleasure. And so I've been trying to drum that message home to all the people that I'm appointing. Everybody's excited and running, and have you got a green letter from the president? The green letter comes with a lot of responsibility and expectation. And I've said that while we hold those who came before us accountable, we should remember that we're also going to be held to account in the same way. And so amending the Constitution, holding people accountable for the public trust, and making sure that we stabilize the economy and create the opportunity for our young people to work as quickly as possible, that is what the task ahead of us is. We may not be able to complete the process, but at least I'm determined that we lay the foundation and put Ghana on the right track so that anybody else who takes over can continue and consolidate it. I can assure you that our country, Ghana, we can be proud of our nation. We're good people, and Ghanaians excel whenever they come out. I just wish that we could work as hard inside as we do when we go outside. It looks like when we come home, we're a different breed of people. But when we go out, everybody talks about the Ghanaian. But I think we should lead by example. And if we lead by example, we'll set the model for others to emulate. And so thank you very much. And continue to send your remittances home. Because remittances are a very huge part of the income that comes into our country. And we're working to make it even more easy for you to be able to send those remittances. But you're contributing to Ghana's growth, and we thank you very much for what you're doing. And as the minister said, we're going to push to get more of our people into these international organizations. Permanent representative told me about our quota in the African Union. Indeed, that is what brought the whole topic up. And that out of 100%, we are utilizing only 43% of our quota. And so it's something that we need to pay attention to. And I've charged the minister to make sure that every opportunity that comes up for a Ghanaian to occupy a position in international organizations, we must push hard and make sure that they are able to get to those positions.